All right, number one, same progression as last week, and I believe the week before, but we are moving the downstrokes further and further away. So yeah, the only time we strum down is going to be at the beginning of the first, third, and final bar. Here we go. 60. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2. One 20, 1, 2, 3, 4. 160. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 200. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 20. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, I'm not gonna push it any further there. Let's go to 180 for the repeats. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, number 2. So this is actually using a 3 notes per string scale shape, which we will be going over. Basically the C Ionian shape. And yeah, just working on keeping everything in sync. Ascending the strings, keeping it nice and quiet. And yep, 3-4 time signature, because it makes it a lot easier to see everything in a nice organized way. 1, 2, 3. Remember to keep your thumb in the middle of your hand, so like back here, past your index finger, so towards your right. So I know you use your middle finger for the whole step stretch, and that's fine. So aiming to have your thumb like right behind your middle finger is a really good idea. It's a good place to have it. All right, 120, 1, 2, 3. $180. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 240. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And repeats. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. And like that. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Hang on, I gotta count that better. Because we got 2 clicks to get down to the E string, from the high E down to the low. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. And number 3. Back to the 4/4 time signature. 1, 2, 3, 4. $120, 1, 2, 3, 4. $180, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. $240, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeats. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so I added the chords here. Figured, this probably be a little easier if I just have them in there and then talk about some what's going on here. So, yeah, definitely distortion on, like playing through the more riffy parts of it. Ooh. So at least be able to make it through each line, on its own, totally fine. Put on the, highlight it and loop it. That's a good idea. You can also do it this way, so you're going to have those 4 beats at the end to get started again. So the chord stuff here, I have Roman numerals going on. I think you learned about the Roman numerals, the chord progression system. So that's why I have these here. So you notice that I also have the 4 at the start here. That's because Lydian is the 4th mode you get when you're going up through the modes of the major scale. And those numbers correspond to like the major key that this is in. So this is in the key of B major here. And yeah, so E is chord number 4 in the key of B, A sharp diminished is number 7, and so on. So yeah, I'm just using the notes that are in key here. So this starts with the E, so we get an E major, just building the triad that happens there. So the major triad. And then A sharp, starting that second bar. That's why we got the diminished chord here, because it's the A sharp is the 7th note in the key of B major, so that's why we have that. Back to the 4, and then the 1 chord, the B major right there, because that bar starts with the B, so B major it is. And then we got chord number 5, which is beginning with that F sharp note there. So I understand that this might seem really confusing, like we see that the interval here is 1. But we have the 4? What? We see this is sharp 4. But then we're talking 7. What? So it's kind of tough at first, but interval numbers and chord placement and note names, they're not all going to be like 100% the same. Meaning, like, just because this is interval number 1 doesn't mean it's going to be chord number 1 in the major key. Now, we could change the chord progression system to start with a 1 and basically number it as it would show in Lydian. I didn't want to do that because I want to help you see how it's a little bit different from key to key. for the most part, like when we do these numbered chord progression things, we're going to be looking at chord number 1 tied up with the first note of whatever major key we're doing. So in this case, E Lydian is in the key of B major, so I'm looking at B as like chord number 1. That's the main thing. So why am I saying E is interval number 1? Because we want that Lydian sound. So the tonal center is E. So we kind of shifted it. We're in the key of B major. We're using the 7 notes in the key of B major. But we are focused on E being the tonal center. So you got your 7 notes of the key of B major laid out. Well, we stuck our center where we're focused on the E note, which is in the key of B major. And because of that, we kind of branch out away from it, come back to it. It sounds Lydian. So I hope that makes sense. And then we go to E Ionian. And definitely use Guitar Pro, like listen to it play and see if that helps you hear things too. So E Ionian, well, we're starting with E is the 1 chord, and then up to the 4 chord, back to the 1, 5 chord, 2 chord, the 1 chord. So these intervals make perfect sense, right? Like everything's lined up here because, you know, we're doing the Ionian mode. So the 1 and the 4 and all that stuff lines up perfectly well with this stuff. So Mixolydian changes it a bit. So E Mixolydian is in the key of A. So we have the A chord here, but we're centering this around, we'll say, the 5 chord, which helps us get this Mixolydian sound. And then the E Dorian. So E Dorian is in the key of D major. We don't have a D major chord showing up in here. We do have a B minor chord though. The key of D major is the relative major of B minor. Same notes. It's just, yeah, the B minor scale and the D major scale, they're in the same key. So they have the relative to each other. We do have a B minor in there. But yeah. E minor, A major, E minor, B minor, F sharp minor. So technically, you know, if you wanted to, you could strum this. Someone could solo over it, and it would sound Dorian. Anyway, then E Aeolian, your E minor scale, that's in the key of G or the key of E minor. So E minor and G major, they are related. So yeah, we're starting with the E minor chord. A minor is the 2 chord of the key of G. And there is the minor key perspective with the chord progression stuff. We'll talk about that at another time. But sometimes you'll see things listed out as the minor chord being chord number 1. So in this case, you know, we could say like E minor is chord number 1 for the key of E minor. We're not going to focus on that right now. But in case you've heard about that, that is a thing and you can do that. Yeah, so E minor, A minor, E minor, B minor, F sharp diminished, E minor. Highly recommend do not bar the diminished chord, this one anyway, because there's too great a risk of hitting that note. It's not in key, not part of the chord. So you want to hold it like that. First, third, fourth, second finger, like that. That F sharp diminished. And E Phrygian, that's in the key of C major or key of A minor. E minor, A minor, E minor, B diminished. That's the same shape as the A sharp diminished from earlier. And F, chord number 4, back to chord number 3. So again, chord number 3 is like the Phrygian place. So Phrygian is the third mode in. In this case, we have E Phrygian because we keep making E our tonal center. And the last one here, E Locrian. Yeah, so we're starting with a diminished chord. That one's tough to not accidentally hit other strings. You know what, let's change it real quick. Let's change it to this big old open one. Ooh. Yeah, let's do that. So now you got all 6 strings involved with this guy. You know, let's change this even more. Now that I'm running through it, it's like, yeah, let's just practice some big old bar chords too. So E Locrian right there. So I hope that makes sense. Practice the chords along with the palm muted riff stuff. And get familiar with the shapes. You might be familiar with quite a few of them already. But especially try learning the new ones for you. So I would imagine the diminished will be the newest ones. Most people don't know those. But yeah, we'll do more with it. But yeah, we'll just slowly work on more and more stuff, introduce more ideas, and solidify them as we go. And boy, I have dry eyes tonight. Good Lord. Sorry. I think that covers it. But yeah, any questions, definitely let me know. And I'll see you again next week.